President Trump has made a landmark historic decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. But that's of no concern to many in the mainstream media. Instead, they're freaking out about whether the president slurred a few words toward the end of his speech and using it to, as they've been doing for some time, question his fitness for office.
He seemed like he was almost hanging on to the prompter.
He's struggling.
There was a struggle happening.
We don't have updates on his health. We don't know what's going on.
Donald Trump is not in perfect health.
There's no reason why that person should have that ability. And we as Americans don't know whether that person has the physical and mental capacity to function correctly.
We should apply that standard to the media at times. But when Hillary Clinton looked woozy and unstable, remember that during the campaign, and even ended up falling at one point, a lot of them sang a different tune.
I want us to be very careful here, the way in which we're reading her health and how that can serve as a proxy, right, for the way in which we're talking about gender.
Today, the news media lost its mind, and Hillary Clinton's health became the most important thing in the world.
This idea now of attempting to cast doubt on Hillary Clinton's health, I mean, she uses pillows, which is a dead giveaway that she is at death's door.
The double standard is so patently predictable, but this effort to question the president's mental fitness is getting totally out of hand. Joining us now, someone who knows what it takes to command. General Wesley Clark is a former Democratic presidential candidate and former Supreme Allied Commander from Europe of NATO. And great to see you, General.
Thank you, Laura.
What do you think about that? Now, President Trump had probably some, I don't know, some throat or teeth problem there, obviously, when you watch the video. And we're jumping to, from one day he has dementia, the next day he's mentally unfit. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, president's health is a big issue, and it's always been a big issue for presidents.
Do you think that's fair? He slurs his words because he had some bridge work fell.
When Ike was president, back before most people were born here, I remember I was a little kid, he had a heart attack, and he actually had to lay off duties in the Oval Office for a while. And it was a big thing. So there's always been media interest.
Oh, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
It is.
He obviously had a dry throat or something with like bridge work or something. It's like it happens. It's like it can be embarrassing, but it happens.
But as you said, it's not a double standard. It's the same standard. It's different.
No, they went crazy. The Democrats and Republicans who hated Trump went crazy when anyone raised an issue of Hillary. Hillary was actually falling into a limousine and then disappeared for, how long was that? She disappeared for some time. Remember on September 11th? And we were not supposed to talk about that. She actually fell, okay? And that wasn't the first time she showed problems.
People look at candidates and presidents' health. And people that support the candidate or whatever, they say it's no big deal. People that are opposed, they use it.
Yeah, but General, he's going to Bethesda.
It's just politics. You know what Laura, you know what they told me when I ran for office? General Kashvili, he said, he was my boss when I was in the military. Charlie said, I would support you. He said, but why would you want this job? He said, before you run, people will try to keep you from taking it. When you have the job, people try to keep you from doing the job. And after you've had the job, you spend the rest of your life defending yourself. So everybody understands it's highly partisan. It's always been that way in American history, from George Washington, Andrew Jackson.
The left is in a meltdown over Trump. General, this is what's happening. The American economy is soaring. You know it, I know it. People are more optimistic. Retail soaring. We're reestablishing and reasserting ourselves as focusing on America first. We're still working with other countries. We're redoing some of these trade deals. Things are looking up. And so the Democrats have to go to identity politics, Trump's mental, Mueller investigation. Identity politics, Trump's mental, Mueller investigation. That's your party. Are you proud of that party?
Well,
that's the party.
I'm basically a military guy, Laura. I did run for president. I believe
you could have run as a
Republican
Republican. I don't even know why you're a Democrat.
But here's
that
the
was
thing.
ridiculous.
But here's the thing. When I talk to Democrats, and I am a Democrat because that's where I'm registered. And when I talk to Democrats, they say they can hardly wait to run on the tax bill as it's emerging.
Good.
So they've got the tax bill, they've got health care, they've got education. But as an American, how do I feel about it? I'm really glad to see the economy doing well. I'm glad to see low unemployment.
Who's responsible for that economy? Do you think Trump gets any credit at all or none?
I think Donald Trump gets some credit for the atmospherics. I think Barack Obama gets some credit. I think George Bush and Hank Paulson get some credit for blowing the whistle. Yeah, George W. Bush.
Gets credit for the economy?
When it was falling apart in the fall of 2008, in the middle of that presidential election,
the big bailout.
he blew the whistle. And he got his Treasury Secretary, Hank Paulson, did something. So, you know,
are we stronger than we were when you were
when
you were in NATO? Compared to the time that you were in NATO to today, America was richer back then. We were more powerful as a nation because we were less in debt. China was not as powerful and not as strong. So you fast forward 20 years to today. America is 20 trillion in debt. China is on the rise all over the globe.
Absolutely.
ISIS is still out there. The establishment lost hold of this whole thing. That's why Donald Trump was elected. If things were riding high, the economy was going great, and Donald Trump wouldn't have been a factor. But he was a factor because the establishment never held up a mirror to themselves and saw that they traded our manufacturing away. They didn't take care of their people first. And Donald Trump said, look, I'm not a politician. That's what I'm going to try to do.
You know, it's the way democracy works. When people think things aren't going right, they want to change. Now, we can go back and we can dispute about exactly what happened. If I go back and look at it, I look at it like, how come we had all those tax cuts in 2001, 2003? Because, no, let me finish. George W. Bush, as president, said, I'm giving you back your money. He did, but he did it in the middle of a war. And so we spent a lot of money on wars.
The tax cuts happened before 9/11, remember?
2001 and 2003, two tax cuts. And
do you want the government to take more of our money?
I want responsible, fiscally responsible, smart government.
Well, you're not going to get me to defend much about Bush, but that's a good thing he did. We got to talk about Jerusalem. We're almost out of time.
Talk about the war.
Bush. That's boring.
The war in Iraq was a mistake.
No kidding. And you were for it, and I was for it. You said
I was not for the war in Iraq.
Do you want me to go through the quotes? You said you probably would have voted for it. Do you want me to go through? Do I really have to pull up my research?
Go through the quotes. I ran for president because the war was not going well.
At the time, I probably would have voted for it, but I think that's too simple a question.
It is.
So did you say that or not, General?
You know why? I would have voted for it because it gave
Point made.
Bush,
you would have voted for it.
Bush, it gave. No, that's not the point. The reason I said it's
we're not relitigating your presidential campaign.
But if
boring.
you raise it, you have to give me a chance to answer, Laura. So you can vote for the president to have authority to give him greater negotiating leverage.
I got it.
And that's what it was about.
Jerusalem.
It was about
Jerusalem.
diplomacy.
We got to go. Jerusalem.
Not going to war.
Okay. It was a mistake. You and I agree. You and I agree on the war. We shouldn't have gone in. I was for it at the beginning. Ambassador to Israel, Obama's ambassador to Israel, mocked the heavy breathing coming from the critics of the move. Whose side are you on this? Was it a good idea for Trump to do what he did or no?
You know, it reflects domestic policy and domestic politics for Donald Trump. So it's a good idea for him politically, and a lot of foreign policy is derived from your political base. So it's a sort of a natural move. The question is now, having sort of shaken up the region, can you take advantage of the shakeup? So I say three things have to be done.
Okay, quickly.
Number one is the Saudis have to displace the Iranians in the support of Hamas and delegitimate Iran as the big protector of Islam. Number two is Bibi needs to say that no more settlements until we get the peace agreement, no more illegals. And number three, Donald Trump needs, after these other two, he needs to say, by the way, the Palestinians can have their capital.
I think he's going to have more success than your former boss. General, it's great to see you.